the Thabo Mbeki Foundation is hosting its 15th anniversary Thanksgiving Gala tonight at the Sandton Convention Centre. Now, the event is themed Thanksgiving, Reflection and Renewal, reaffirming the Foundation's unwavering commitment to fostering a continent defined by peace, prosperity and self-determination. Now, our Ziniko Mhlaba is joining us live from there. Ziniko, take us into the room and specifically, which kind of dignitaries are we expecting this evening?
A very good morning, a very good evening to you, Veronica. Yes, indeed, we're here in Sandton, Johannesburg. That's where the Thabo Mbeki Foundation is celebrating 15 years since it was established back in 2010. Well, there's been various activities leading up to today. There was, a soul turning ceremony that took place previously, but also Golf Day. But today, it's all about thanking, but also engaging with the partners of the partnership in terms of what is it that the foundation has achieved over the past 5 years, but also looking ahead in terms of how does it set its buttons looking at the future of its work. I'm joined now by the chairperson of the foundation, the former member of parliament, the former minister, and Mabu Geraldine Fraser, just to give us a sense in terms of the speakers we can expect, Mama, but also just a quick reflection of the work that the foundation has done in the context of where South Africa is now and its challenges, but not forgetting the continent.
To a large extent, let's call this evening the culmination and gathering around the Africa Renaissance, because 15 years of this foundation has been one that brings together a focus on various aspects of the continent. Our key focus is peace and development. Our focus is looking at the unity of all the peoples of the continent. But in order to achieve that, we've got to ensure that there's development. This evening, we will reflect on the 15-year journey, but with an eye on what the next 15 years and beyond will look like, not only for South Africa, but the African continent, and of course, those Africans in the diaspora and beyond. A big aspect of this is the building of the Presidential Center. And the Presidential Center should be seen as a place that is almost a pilgrimage place for all African scholars, for African writers, for African creators, for African youth. Because after all, it is not fiction that our youth demographic is what's going to be the dividend for the continent. But for that dividend to be realized, we need to develop skills and ensure the education of the African youth.
I mean, talking about the development and the maturity of our democracies on the continent, one will say you are still struggling. If you look at the leaders that are still vying for positions, such as the Cameroonian president, this is the person who's who's in the 90s. But also the war, the DRC issue is still a major problem. Is the foundation and its partners making any inroads in terms of fostering for fair democracies, but also accountability when it comes to these war-torn countries and the role that South Africa can play in that regard?
You would recall that in September, we had the Africa Peace and Security Dialogue. And that brought together players from the DRC, people from the Horn of Africa, as well as the Sahel, where we looked, particularly the Sahel, where we looked at the challenges. We didn't only bring like-minded people into the room. We brought all players, because if you want dialogue, and if you want to resolve Africa's challenges, you need to have everyone in the room. And that's the approach of the foundation. Are we making headway? We don't see it as an event. We see it as a process, because it's not one shot in the arm that will make a difference. It will be the people of Africa taking their future in their hands and building that future in such a way that every African sees themselves in the continent that is one that will grow and really burgeon in a way that it never has before.
Before I let you go, Chairperson, talk to us about the voice of the African continent in global platforms. We're talking about Africa still not having a permanent security seat, but also our role and voices when it comes to global conflicts, whether it's Israel up against, Palestine, or we're talking about trade with the U.S. Is our voice, heard? Are we audible? Are we being taken seriously? And if not, what is the shortcoming?
Africa has always made it quite clear that its voice will only be heard if it's a united voice. We, as the foundation, has reflected on the fact that the continental institutions have been quite weak. And we particularly did that through our Africa Day lectures, where we reflected on how we need to develop and strengthen a united Africa voice. And now, as you correctly point out, now more than at any other moment, there is a need for such a united voice. But it requires the leaders of Africa to come together and have a cohesive response. What's happened at this point is that we get fragmented and separated. And there's a divide and rule strategy around that.
Mama, thank you very much for your time. Let me release you to take care of your guests there. That's Mama Geraldine Fraser Muligate, who is the chairperson of the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, just giving us insights in terms of what is it that we can expect this evening, but also the work of the foundation in the past 15 years and its agenda as it sets its eyes in the next 15 years. It's back to you, Vel.